Let's chat about answer choices on surveys. What's an answer choice? That's like if you don't do an open-ended question. So let's say you're not doing the thing where anyone can like type whatever they want in your little box. You're doing a closed answer question, which means like you're providing people from a list of possibilities. And you have to make some key choices about the choices you allow people. For instance, do you want them to only be able to pick one thing? Do you want them to be able to select many answers? Do you want them to put the answers in a particular order? That's a choice that you make and that you should be making based on what will get you the most useful, best data. And that's just like format, structure, right? Like in addition, just like when you're writing a question and you want it to be specific and simple, you also want your answer choices to be specific and simple. Like you want everyone to know what each one of those choices means and to be able to be like, yep, this one fits what I think best. Or these 5 fit what I think best if you're allowing people to select multiple. Let's look at an example, and I just want to say this is no hate to LinkedIn because LinkedIn just gave me my top voices badge for research skills, and I feel excited about that. And as someone with the top voices badge in research skills, I just can't let something like this go unchecked. That would not be having a top voice in research skills. So I don't know if you've seen these little like collaborative articles on LinkedIn, but there are these articles where like you can weigh in, you can add your opinion, you can add additional advice, like you can comment on these articles that like people read. And so recently I've been finding that I don't like a lot of the articles in the research skills section, and it gives you a place where you can say like, I don't like this article. And when you do that, it takes you to this little like pop-up where it says, tell us more, tell us why you didn't like this article. Now, I love this. Yes, ask me and ask everyone else why we don't like the article. That's great. That's learning. I can see the power, the usefulness of this data. At least I could until I looked at these response choices. The first thing right off the bat that this question does wrong is that I can only pick one choice. Hey, Kirsten, why didn't you like this article? Tell us only one thing. Which is ridiculous because it'd be very easy to make this select all that apply. And personally, from my experience, there are many reasons that I don't like an article, and I would think you would want to know about all of them. For instance, if I didn't like it because it's inaccurate, but it also contains stereotypes or biases, wouldn't you want to know that? It's not my survey, but I would. So like right off the bat, this data is not that good because the answer choices in this case, I would say, don't actually match the question. Because if you can only pick one response, the question should say, tell us the number one reason why you don't like this article. Tell us your top reason why you don't like this article. Then it makes sense to only have one response. But it doesn't make sense as a question because, again, for your learning, for your growth, you would want to know all the reasons. So like this is just structured bad. LinkedIn should redo it. Then to get into like the nitty gritty of things, these options, these answer choices they provide, one, have some like advanced, what I would consider non-simple language. So you would want to like make this much more simple. That's just the best practice. Like make it more simple so everyone has a better chance of understanding it in the exact same way. It also has things like it's redundant or unclear. Well, actually, I would really like to know if it's redundant or if it's unclear or if it's both of those things. Those should be separate options. Then like lack of specificity, like it's harmful advice. When I hear the word harmful, I'm thinking like, oh, it's harmful because it has like stereotypes or biases. Well, that's a different option. Is harmful advice bad advice? Because I guess bad advice is harmful in some sense, but you see why specificity matters? Like we should just say what we mean. Which, speaking of bad advice, what is the bad advice option that I would pick? Because that's the response that I always want to give. Like, I disagree with this advice. I think this is bad advice. I don't think people should follow the advice in this. Or sometimes I just think like the article doesn't make sense. Like logically, it doesn't make sense. But here, like if that's what you thought, I'm curious, like what would you pick? Would you say like inaccuracies? Because sometimes like it's bad advice, but it's not like inaccurate. It's just like, I wouldn't do that. Would you say harmful? It could be redundant, it could be unclear, it could be inaccurate, and just advice you disagree with. Wouldn't it be great if you could click all of those things? And then of course, to cover all possible responses, where is the other? Please describe. Throw that on there at the end. That's what I would be clicking literally every time, which would be annoying because then they'd have to like analyze all the qualitative responses, the typing the words in there. But if they made a better list in the first place, then less people would use the other and then they wouldn't have that issue. Moral of the story, Survey Design 101, your answer choices matter. They matter in terms of structure, again, like allowing people to pick one versus multiple versus like a rating system. And they also matter in terms of also being like very simple and specific and covering all possible responses that someone might have to your question. If LinkedIn wanted to keep it like this, which they shouldn't, but they should say, tell us the number one reason why you didn't like this article, because then at least the choices match the question. I'm only allowing you to give one response, so I need to ask for your number one response. Does that make sense?